I feel fine. I was sick one day I really felt it bad, and then it lingered on for a couple more days. And I'm pretty much better now. You might still be able to hear in my voice a little bit of it almost feels like I got the tail end of a cold or something,
Yeah.
but I'm fine otherwise.
Yeah,
This
when
was,
I
this was right?
What?
Keith, this was syphilis that you were getting over?
Yeah. You caught me, yeah.
so just as well as audio only.
No, but yeah. So, yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to hear. I mean, I've heard about it, but I'd like to hear. Maybe you'd like to explain how the trajectory of it. You know,
Syphilis?
how it spread and all that. The COVID,
Or
obviously.
COVID.
We're joking about that, yeah, about the syphilis.
I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna cut that out. That bit's getting cut out. We're just gonna leave it in. Every reference to COVID's coming out, and we're leaving in syphilis. And then I started to feel better after I was diagnosed with syphilis.
It's just my voice.
Yeah, different voice.
Yeah, I don't know. I had family was over. Well, all my family was together on Christmas, and one of my family members, I guess, was exposed to it before they got here. They came from out of state, and then didn't know that they exposed everyone else. So they didn't start feeling. They got here on Christmas, didn't start feeling bad until the Monday after Christmas, and then I felt my first symptoms on the Wednesday after that, and they had so when they found out, well, they just woke up, felt bad, and said, "Oh, maybe I have COVID," not knowing. And then they tested and got at one of the at-home tests and came back positive. So I was fine. Everybody else in my family, so as my brother and his wife were here from out of state. They're not vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated, but everybody else in my family is vaccinated. And only the people that were not vaccinated got COVID, or at least got symptoms. So everybody else was fine, didn't feel anything. I didn't even test myself. I just assumed that that's what it was. And I've since tested myself. I tested myself this morning, and I'm still testing positive for COVID, despite it being a week later and me not feeling poorly at all. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but I guess it lingers in your system for an unknown period of time. But overall, pretty mild. Like I said, I had one day. I knew I had COVID. One, I woke up and I felt like I had a fever, and I had a mild fever, like 99 degrees, 100 degrees maybe, and body aches pretty bad. So I had body aches that first day, Wednesday, and I also hadn't eaten much either. So that was one of the things that is by like the afternoon, by like lunchtime, I ate something and I napped like 3 times that day. But I did feel like shit pretty much for a full day. And then the body aches gradually went down. By the end of that day, they were not as bad. By the next day, they were even better, and took like 3 or 4 days for those to go away. But I still have, I don't know, kind of feel like postnasal drip and a cough every once in a while, but I wouldn't say I have it's not like a chronic cough. It's just every once in a while I get a tickle in the back of my throat. But I'm breathing fine. Didn't seem to have any real effect on me. I've been taking it real slow. I haven't really worked out a whole lot. I stopped doing the breath holds. Although yesterday I just did one just to see if I still could do it, and held my breath for like 2.5 minutes, and I figured that was enough. I'm still decent at it. So, but yeah, just been taking it real slow. A lot more supplementation than I normally do. couple other just over-the-counter medications, and I'm back. But don't really carry that high of risk. I don't have any chronic diseases, and I'm young, so I think my case is pretty typical for most people in my age bracket.
So what you recommend for people recovering from COVID is 6-minute breath holds. Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't really catch exactly what you said there besides breath holds, but
so I'm saying what you recommend to people who are recovering from COVID, your recommendation is 6-minute breath holds. Everyone else is dropping like flies, they can't breathe. Keith starts doing 6-minute breath holds.
Oh no. Yeah, not the 6 minutes, at least 2 minutes though. That's how you know you'll survive it. Yeah, don't want to push yourself too hard.
If Keith can only do a 1-minute breath hold, he's in the ICU unit.
Yeah, I mean, that would be concerning, because it was up until that point, it was I was doing like 4+ minute holds every day, and I just stopped altogether. So it actually would be a signal if I couldn't hold my breath that long, but everything seems fine. I still haven't done anything too strenuous, but it's all good otherwise.
That I think that's key, just taking it really easy with any kind of in my experience, any kind of sickness that's below the neck, where you're getting the body aches and symptoms below just nasal stuff, is really well serviced by just total rest. That's kind of like my policy usually. I haven't had COVID, but as far as I know, but in the past, whenever I've had anything like that, usually I just take however many days off it takes.
I had COVID in February this year. I had COVID before it was popular, when it was it was much stronger in those days. And it was quite rough, actually. It was quite strong, but the flu I'd had the year before was also really bad, and I thought was worse. Took about three weeks to totally clear up. This time it was like 2 weeks I was kind of ill. I had quite a strong fever, like delirium from the fever for 2 days. And then it just took a long time to just go away. It was kind of there all the time. And someone I know well had it, and they have like a health condition, and took them a bit longer to recover. Took them about 4 or 5 weeks. So, but yeah, I ate a lot of food when I had it. I ate more food than normal. I didn't do the most exercise I did was sit outside in the sun. Even though it was February, there was still sun for 2 hours a day. It's great. So I would just sit outside, even though it was a bit cold, but I would just, close off in the balcony, and seemed to help. And ate lots of food, and I haven't no problems after that at all.
Good.
That was one of the things that I was kind of upset about, was I wasn't able to get outside a whole lot. All last week was, well, in my area of the world, was pretty just like cloudy and rainy and stuff. So I wasn't able to spend a whole lot of time outside, which was kind of, I don't know, just gave me more cabin fever than anything else. I've been eating normally too, just like you. I can't say I've been eating more than I normally would, but my taste has never gone away. A couple of weird things, though. One, anything with like vinegar in it or tastes briny or anything like that has this weird, I don't even know how to explain the taste, but it's got this weird taste to it now, weird flavor over it. And I normally like all those things. I like vinegar or fermented things. I like mustard, and all that has this weird taste over it that I just can't eat any of it. Everything else tastes normal though, and I'm not like, my taste isn't gone away. And I could smell that too. And a couple of weird things with my smell, like there was a time when I went outside yesterday or a day ago, and I could smell the dirt just like in the air. And I don't know what to make of that, but I don't know. My smell seems to have gotten better, and my taste is thrown off in a certain flavor among certain flavor profiles.
Yeah,
But
I lost my sense of smell as well. The last went about a week, 10 days. It was just nothing. And we were, because obviously we were isolating and we had family, we were delivering food to us outside the door. You know, we get a ring on the door, and you would open the door and there's no one there, but there's a big pile of food on the floor sitting ready for us. You know, it was great. Didn't want it to end, actually. It was quite handy. But so we would like get food like that, and then because we weren't going out and going anywhere, there was like a lot of it was like takeaways. People were like giving us like it was all takeaway packaging, and there was like piles and piles piling up after the like week or two, and you couldn't tell whether the whole house was just stinking of rubbish or not, because there was just no sense of smell. You know, didn't really care at that point. But didn't really, apart from got cabin fever as well, stuck in. It was a nightmare. But I haven't really known anyone to had like a really bad experience on it. I don't know anyone. I know one step removed from someone and they have like serious health issues. It's like really serious stuff, that person. So it's like, it seems like anything we could have done that to them, not just this. So.
Yeah. Thankfully, no one in my family has had any. Well, I shouldn't say that. I had an uncle who was in the hospital for quite some time last over. I think it was either over the summer or last spring or something. But other than that, everyone that I know that has had it has had pretty mild cases of it. So that's all. That's positive news. Good
so you
news.
said the people who'd had the vaccination didn't have symptoms. They got it, but they didn't have symptoms. Is that what you said in your family?
I don't even know if they got it.
Okay.
I just know myself and my brother and his wife all unvaccinated, and we all got it and had symptoms and were out of commission for a couple of days.
Okay, right.
Everybody in my family who was vaccinated, I think they're all vaccinated. And I think they all got the booster shot recently too. So they had it, and or I don't know if they even got it. So I know my mom took a test and she came back negative. So I don't even know if they contracted it or not. So maybe the vaccine worked in that case as intended.
So what else did you notice any? How did it affect you mentally at all, having COVID, or was it just like a physical pest?
Yeah, what do you mean by mentally?
Well, I had kind of, like, as I said, I had kind of delirium. I was a little bit delirious for a couple of days. Well, not even a couple of days. It was really just like half a day, half at night, and then the next half of the day. And then for some reason, I still had a kind of high fever kind of mind. And this is really weird. I just remembered this. I started reading. I couldn't read or focus on anything, like, because I was in the fever. And for some bizarre reason, I started reading, which I'm not interested in at all. I started reading Kant, the philosopher Kant, the really sort of heavy, critique of pure reason, or whatever his main one is. And it was the only thing I could keep focused on. It was almost like the fever and the illness in the body was so intense. The only thing left was like logical thinking. That was just it. And I needed something that was like so abstract and with so little feeling attached to the thoughts that I could follow it through. And I think I was following it pretty well. But I mean, I haven't gone back to it. As soon as I've recovered, I wasn't interested anymore. But it was really weird because I've no interest in that before. And it just made me think, well, maybe, I don't know, people who like that kind of stuff maybe are delirious. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that may be true. But yeah, I would say, I had the first day when I had body aches really bad and the fever, I guess I was kind of foggy or just in a fog, kind of that fever delirium. So I don't know. We'll have a conversation and see if I'm still kind of foggy. I almost showed up to this like 2 hours early again, so maybe that is signal of something. But
I saved the text messages from that period of time. I'll
What's
show
that?
those to you. I saved all your texts from that period of time. I'll show those to you. I created an archive of your delirium texts.
With syphilis
great.
plastered over. It'll be
That might be a good
photoshopped syphilis
NFT.
over all the words.
Sellable.
Got syphilis at Christmas with the family. Oh,
The whole family.
Oh, God.
oh man.
Jeez. I don't know. Did I seem to leave? I know I was not on Twitter a whole lot just the whole time because I don't know.
You must have
I don't know. I
gone
haven't
mad. You
really
must
done
have
much
gone mad
anything.
to leave Twitter.
Yeah. It drove me so crazy. I had to leave Twitter for a little bit. I mean, I was on there a little bit, but I wasn't really sharing or posting anything. Yeah, I don't know. You're sick. I don't think it's related to COVID, but just sometimes when not that I probably haven't been sick in years besides this, but I don't know. You just feel kind of lethargic and you don't want to do anything. At least that's my experience. Plus, it's the time of year too. The weather's been crappy. The days are short, and just kind of perfect storm of everything to kind of hibernate. This past week too, nothing really goes on, at least in the United States. It's between Christmas and New Year's. There's a whole lot of nothing. So I don't know. It was all those things maybe just added to it where I just wasn't active doing anything, and that just kind of led to more lethargy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that period between Christmas and New Year's is pretty strange. It's a weird time.
A week of Sundays.
Yeah,
Exactly right.
what's it like on Cyprus? You guys follow the same?
It's not even finished here yet. There's still another thing on tomorrow because it's the 6th. You know, it's
there,
Epiphany.
right?
Yeah, it's another thing. So there's more barbecue dinners tomorrow. We've got 2 different places to go to. So yeah, but the Christmas isn't really a big deal here. They only just started doing more the kind of Western Christmas recently, apparently. But it's kind of just quiet. It's not really a thing until recently. It's been more kind of Anglified. But New Year's is bigger. New Year's. They give gifts at New Year rather than Christmas. That was more traditional as far as I understand. But I mean, Cyprus is a weird country. There's so many different things here. It's like, you know, the English say the English because they call it the English base here, but the British still have large parts of territory here with the army bases, you know, from when it was part of the empire. They never left, and the whole sections you're it's not even fenced off. You're walking, and suddenly you're technically in England, and you need like the permission of the British government to build things and change things. It's really weird. And then obviously there's the North and Cyprus, Turkish, Greek thing, and then there's the English bases, and so there's kind of a mixed culture, and then there's so many British expats here that moved here over the years that there's kind of you can't tell how much of it's because of them and how much is it because of here. It's kind of strange, but there's definitely not like the whole kind of frenzied consumer thing that you get in the UK at Christmas time. There's none of that. Also, it's the weather. It's like I was sunbathing on Christmas Day. Was sunbathing, or was it Boxing Day? I don't remember. Pretty good. And today, the New Year's Day was good as well. So do you guys have any New Year's resolutions, or do you not do any of that?
I don't. Yeah. I mean, I've tried in the past, and they don't really take. So yeah, no, nothing. I don't sit down and write anything or proclaim something. But maybe quietly in my head, something changes. I don't know, but I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah,
I don't do a. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, on you go.
I was saying that I don't do a resolution, or I typically haven't. Most of the time, if I decide I want to do something, or if I wanted to start something, I don't wait for a. I don't wait till the beginning of the year. There might be some other thing that marks that, but not the beginning of the year typically. I guess I didn't resolve to do it, but I mean, these next, in terms of transitionary period, for me, what I'd like to do over the next month to couple months to year is just get my personal training business going. That was something. I left my job last October. I was working on some side projects for a while, and then that was up till like the beginning of December. And then I had a couple weeks up until Christmas. I was away for a week before Christmas, and then this time period. So now I'm really kind of getting back into things, trying to focus more on that going forward.
So what is your plan then with the fitness?
That's a tough. Well, I'll tell you that what I have been doing for the past few days is building out like a website. So it's not live yet, but I want to get that up so at least some people have some place to go to look and reference and have information on there for what I do. I'd mostly like to do stuff locally, like in person with people, not a lot of online stuff, but that's something I have to decide if I want to incorporate in down the line, because obviously you could reach a lot more people that way. And it's a lot of just figuring out as I go. So there's the website I want to get done. There's certain like legal forms and waivers that I have to create or get made. I haven't filed an LLC yet, but eventually that'll be down the line to have like a whole business side of things. So those are all things I'm thinking about that I haven't done yet, but I at least over time I want to get the ball rolling on all of them and start rolling it out. Lock down a few clients. I like kind of what you've been doing, Kevin, where it's like you have a month where it's or at least it is every week, and then that's your cohort for the month, and then people sign up for the next month. I kind of like the way that's blocked off, because one, it shows a little bit more commitment. You could work a little bit closer with people and kind of track their progress better, as opposed to doing one session on the second week of October, then the third week in November, and they can't make it again until January. And so if you get a little bit more commitment, I think it's easier to structure that plan for them, and two, actually really help people when you have a little bit more steady commitment from people like that.
Yeah, that's what I found. Yeah, I find it's worked far better, and it also keeps your own head clear. You're planning ahead, so you kind of know you can.
Right. Yeah.
You know how many
You're
people.
less scattered.
So, like, I obviously have other people who are booking lessons at random times. I've had other lessons and single lessons and stuff, but but it's been good for that. It's also good, I think, from because I like, the reason I started doing it was because it was better for people, but actually it's probably better from a marketing point of view, but not in the way that people normally think, because they normally think that it's normally like sell as much as you can up front to get all the cash up front, kind of thing, and the people always sell things in batches of lessons or batches of sessions or whatever for money. But I wasn't doing that because I thought people were learning better when they were coming proactively and had an itch to learn, and they were like doing it, they were performing better. But by having the start dates like that's kind of regular every month, when people, it's in the back of their mind that they want to do it at some point every month now, they have to decide whether they'll do it or not. They know it's coming. They don't have to, obviously, and then they can just go, well, it's a possibility. They're saying yes or no to themselves. So I've had some guys who've done it who were thinking about it for months before they did it, and I've had people come back and do it again, like a sort of more advanced version. And it's like that, blocking it in, like you're saying, just focus on that and then go and do something else. And like a lot of the guys that we're in our kind of sphere are all involved in all different sorts of things as well. You can't keep up 5, 6, 7 different, you can't be learning 5, 6, 7 different things all at once. Your brain just can't do it, not really. You need to really focus on one thing, and then you can go and do something else. And now when you come back to the first thing, it's kind of slightly different because you've learned these other things, So for me, I'll get guys who they'll do the posture thing, and then they'll go and do something to do with some type of fitness thing or whatever. And then they'll come back, and that's kind of now been integrated in with that. And the 30 days format seems to work with that. So far anyway, so I'm quite happy with that. So yeah, I would recommend that.
Nice.
I would recommend that for you for definite, because you can really get, because the way you teach, the way you structure your sessions, the way you're doing like the sort of experimental and exploding kind of way, if a person's not used to that, they're used to like a really rigid program that's just given to them, and the solution's there, and they just have to repeat it, as opposed to your way, which is more kind of figuring it out as you go and developing the movements based on one piece of equipment or whatever. If you're teaching that to someone, they need to build up momentum, so they really start thinking like that, so they naturally start doing it. If they just do that a few times here and there, they'll just go back to their old way. But if they do that solid for like a month, it's so much more fun, and they're not going to go back to the old way.
Right. I think a lot of it is just, like you said, conditioning yourself to a new perspective. So you can't do it once off. It's got to become, well, more of like a lifestyle thing. And a month seems to be a long enough time frame. Well, it's like a good time frame, because it's not eternity. So if you don't like it, you only do it for a month. And it's also enough time to actually get comfortable and kind of understand what you're doing, as opposed to just kind of fumbling about for a week or 2 weeks. So it seems like a good time frame. Maybe 6 weeks would be a little bit better, but I don't know. These are all things that I know what works for me, and they're half theoretical, but I know it's worked for a few people, and it's all stuff that I got to feel out as I go along. But so I guess back to your original point, resolution, I don't really have a resolution, but those are just things that I'm working on. And if it happened to be June and in the middle of the year, as opposed to the beginning of the year, I'd be doing the same things. But yeah, I don't have a New Year's resolution. What about you? Are you do you do New Year's resolutions, or
not like
figure
that,
something
no.
out?
I usually by the time Christmas, New Year, but usually by the end of the year, a theme will emerge of something I'm going to want to be working on or focusing on for the year. But it's not really a resolution. It's more focusing on one thing. Like last 2 years really have been more about you'd say like mastering the craft for me, sort of quietly behind the scenes, getting really good at specific things. And last year specifically, being more systematic about what I'm doing, being more organized about what I'm doing in terms of the work itself. And now this year going forward, it's now time to make it more bigger and make money from it and that kind of thing. Whereas before, I've been kind of in a cocoon with it. I take too long doing everything, so I could probably come out of this cocoon about a year ago, but I didn't. So, but this year will be that, because it's just the time. It just happens to be kind of New Year's. It's It's not really attached to New Year. I just find the resolutions thing doesn't work because you're just attaching yourself to all the energy of other people pretending they're going to do something for a year and then stopping after a few days. You're kind of the wrong vibes to be doing something new, to be doing something. And it's not even that meaningful. You'd be still picking your own birthday or something if you're going to pick one day of the year.
Yeah. I think it can feel nice to those first few days, you know, you're kind of immersed in this energy of, oh yeah, I'm making this huge change. You know, you're thinking about stuff. You're not actually doing anything. It's all kind of thoughts in your head, maybe things you're writing down. And that's how it would start if you were going to do it. And so it feels to your body and your mind like you're really doing it. And it feels really good because you're not really doing any hard work. But then I think you can just, you get maybe addicted to that feeling, or maybe that feeling is enough. And then it fades away, and then you move on to something else without ever actually completing it. So I think, I think that's one drawback. I mean, I've experienced that. I'm saying you. Everything I write and talk about is often letters to myself. So I think, I've felt this before, and I've realized how futile it is, at least for me, and how ultimately counterproductive. So, yeah.
And nobody around you is holding you accountable because they're hiding the same secret. They're not doing their own one, so they just don't mention the fact that you're not doing whatever you said you were going to do or stop doing. Everybody's like, it's the same game. Everybody's playing. Yeah.
Going back to Keith, I wanted to ask because I have some thoughts, and it's just my thoughts, it's not yours. But I was wondering, what do you think your best demographic would be? Your target customer, and what do you envision? Like you envision like a total beginner, or like a grandma, or is it? I'm just curious who you want to be training, and who you think your methods can actually help the most.
That's a good question. I don't think that it's necessarily older people, like older than 50, because there's a lot of, not that it couldn't be, but there's just a lot of other considerations that, you might be doing more foundational stuff, or getting over injuries and that type of thing when you work with older people. So when the first thing that comes to mind is like people kind of around my age, so anywhere from 20 to 40, and one, they maybe exercise, they work out, already go to the gym, but they're kind of bored with it, and they don't know, they kind of fall back on and off the wagon. They're, oh yeah, I worked out for a little bit and then I took a month off and I feel like I should be getting back, just really go running right now, and that's all I do, and I don't really feel like doing that the whole time or for the rest of my life. So in terms of demographic, I would say someone in the decade preceding or succeeding where I am at 30, interested in trying to find a new way to approach exercise, and who haven't, people who think exercise is a chore and have seen it enough to know that it doesn't have to be.
That's your copy right there, right? What you just said. That's great. All that. I think that's good copy.
Oh, good. I'll have to refer back to the
I like
to the recording. But other than that, I don't know. I don't necessarily, I think the approach that I have can help people. Like if you're an athlete and you want to do certain things, or you have a certain sport you want to get better at, there's not that I train specifically for one sport, but you will get more athletic. I think just by doing some of the things that I do. So it can be helpful and beneficial. And I mean, I think I'd like to think that I have enough understanding to help people if they want to go in a specific direction too. Like if you're training for something. I mean, I've trained for races and obstacle courses and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's stuff that I've done in the past, but that I've since been able to apply the exercise and movements I do to a more broad category of things. But yeah, I don't know. That's who I'm geared towards. It's pretty much people like me. So, and anybody you could. That's a lot of people actually. So there's a lot of people that I think could benefit from it. It's not that I wouldn't be able to help work with, but it would be a lot slower, especially if I help someone just over like the course of a month or 6 weeks, someone that's not really exercised ever before. There is, I mean, I could do like foundational work with people, but it's not, anybody could do that. So there's a lot of stuff that you could just go to LA Fitness or wherever and get a trainer there, and you'll get that foundational stuff where you're just learning to whatever, get your heart rate up a couple times a week and all that. But again, I think my approach is a little bit more integrated, as we talk about on this podcast, to maybe it would be beneficial if people were at least into exercise at least one point in their life before working with me. Do you have anything? I mean, I'm all seeing this from my perspective, so that's all. I obviously only have my perspective, but based on what you know about me, do you have any thoughts beyond what I just explained there?
It was pretty close to what I was thinking. Pretty close to what I was thinking, actually. I think your stuff would be really good for, guys who've really spent the last maybe 5 to 10 years just kind of doing the typical, compound lifts with a barbell, like focusing on just pure strength, like pure unadulterated strength.
Yeah.
Deadlifts, squats, and whatnot. Because they have that base level of strength, but I find with a lot of those guys, they're very stiff and kind of almost uncoordinated, like they have trouble expressing that strength. I mean, they have, sort of great fundamental, I guess, like if you were doing an RPG, they'd have just really high strength and constitution. But, I think they could learn dexterity and, maybe even charisma or something,
Charisma?
And, yeah. Like physical charisma, ability to interact with the world. And
I've never heard that before, but physical charisma, it's an interesting thought.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And it kind of came out. There's not much thought behind it, but I think it has something. There's something there. But they could really improve their overall athleticism and health by focusing on more of the moving in different planes of movement, which is what you're doing. It's not so linear, and because it's like, how much stronger do you need to be? How much, like you're at 2 times body weight deadlift. I don't know, unless you're competing for something, how important it is to get that up to 2.5 or 3. I think there's a lot more interesting things you can explore in the realm of movement.
A lot of them would struggle just to run a mile. They'd struggle to run a mile for the first time. I mean, you're really unfit if you can't call yourself fit if you can't run a mile. And I've gone, it's like it's easy to forget it for people. They really forget that running is basic. And it's also I've always thought it was weird that guys who get into like the survival kind of mindset, like they're going to be, like Mad Max, and they're going to be the guy. They think they're just like pumping the weights all the time, that it's just going to be this fight between these big strong guys. If you're in that kind of situation, you're going to have to be doing a lot of running, especially in an urban area. You're going to need to be able to run a lot. So you're really not prepared for the shit hitting the fan, as they say. If all you've got is strength, it's useless. Not useless, but it's on its own. It's won't last long.
Yeah.
But yeah, for you, Keith, I think the thing that makes it different for you, your thing different, Keith, I think, is the philosophy of that. I just love this. Choose one piece of equipment for the day and then just work things around with that. That is so deep, and so it seems so obvious, but I haven't really heard people say it like that. And
yeah, and it's not even just a single, like, I don't necessarily even have a piece of equipment, but it's like, how do I want to use my leg today?
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I
How am I
would
gonna
classify
move
leg
around
as
my
a
leg?
tool. Your leg is a tool. It's a tool for moving you around to get food or other things beginning with F. And your way of just going about doing that, it spills over into lots of things. That kind of experimental, and it's that, again, we were talking about before, about it's meaningful and it's fun. That's a whole side of your health and fitness that you can't really, it doesn't come in sets and reps, but you know it as a kind of happy side effect of what you're doing, rather than directly trying to get it. It just comes to you over time. And your thing is like that, to me, that's what makes it instantly sound different. It makes me think, if someone is coming across it and everyone's always saying what's different about this guy's thing, you're looking for some new thing or whatever, that's the thing I would lead with for you, if it was me, I think. Because
I'm gonna have to go back and take notes on this episode myself, because these are just things I guess I talk about, express, but it's when you hear other people explain it to you, it clicks in your head a little bit different.
It's so obvious to you because you do it every day. You don't really realize it's a thing. Probably, I don't know. It'll be easy to find this episode anyway. Remember, yeah. This is the syphilis episode. You'll be able to find it.
All right, we're gonna call it that.
If I can figure out how to spell it, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna get a lot of clicks.
Oh man, I mean, because really the fact is that your average guy who doesn't really exercise, doesn't even go to the gym, is not going to be all that interested in doing some of the crazy stuff you do. And those people, when they do want to train, they want to see results in the mirror. They want to lose weight, they want to get bigger muscles instantly, and that's why I think targeting people who already have that base level, but then want to do something differently, I think that could be really ripe for the picking. I know when I used to do Move Not stuff with Erwan Lacour, his system of training, and most of the people who got really into it and were like the trainers and really enthusiastic, they all had backgrounds of things like CrossFit, powerlifting, so or sports, so they're already in really good shape, but they had reached a point where, what else do I do? Now I want to be able to move through the environment. And I think you could kind of target the same thing.
Yeah.
A lot more fun to work with those people, to more experienced people anyway. It's more fun for you anyway, I'm sure it'll be, because I think your thing, Keith, is going to be really tailored to the individual person, because you need to know what do they have around them to use, where can they work out or whatever. There's it's quite specific, and then you can tailor things, design things based on what they have around them. Are you at the shore, or are you in the woods? It doesn't, whatever it is, middle of a city. And if you're tailoring it to people like that, then it's more hands-on, specific to a person. So it's going to be more time for you. So it's going to be more expensive for them. So it's going to have to be people who are more serious. And if they're more serious, they would already be doing some type of thing already. And this is like Eric's saying, they're like the next evolution of what they were already doing, rather than some guy who's looking for a magic bullet to get rid of his guts or whatever. And then there's all sorts of for your thing, Keith. I mean, it's just, I mean, people just like talking about things that they've got this thing around the back of their house that they use to do this. And there's this cool place at the park has this cool climbing frame. They do this thing and all that kind of shit. People have, like some guy just starting is not going to go and start swinging on the kids' play park. He doesn't like, he doesn't want to walk. He's embarrassed walking. So, people are talking about, look at that guy. Well, they think they are. Obviously, they're not. Well, some people are maybe. But so for you, Keith, like you could easily combine the in-person stuff locally with an online aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I really never understood is the people that like they were always so like 5 times a week for an hour or 2 hours or whatever, and everything is such a like a slog to get through. Like I got that, I ground that one out, I got it done, I just get it done and move on with your day. So it's never been it just seems like a poor relationship. And I think one of my goals, if I was to lay it out as to like what I would want to help people do or change, is to have a better relationship about these things. Is not just like you don't have to be so grind set mentality about it. I got my 5 miles in today and now I could get on with the rest of my life. So I would like my overall goal would be to have more of, one, an enjoyable thing, 2, more intuitive, where it's not like you don't have to discipline yourself into doing these things. You obviously don't like them and you're just forcing yourself to do them because you think it's going to make you healthy. But if you can learn to adopt certain modes of movement and exercise that are just built into your life, that always just appealed to me more. That it's like, you don't have to struggle against yourself. You work with yourself to live in a more healthy way. So I think that's kind of like an overall like philosophical goal of what I'd like to do or help people with, is to actually get them from the discipline yourself into being healthy to kind of be more, I don't know, I guess the word is integrated again, to do it where you don't have to force yourself over and over again for months on end or years on end to be healthy. You just, these things are built into the way you live your life. And I mean, of course you have workout sessions, but they're more fun and playful than anything else. So that would be an overall goal for me, into like, if I was to say what I want to actually accomplish, is to just transition people into that more a different mindset about what exercise has to be. And it doesn't have to be battling yourself all the time to try to be healthy. It can be something different, and you can make it more of an intuitive thing as opposed to a disciplinary thing upon yourself.
So how would you teach? So if someone, so you're quite an intuitive person anyway. So how do you teach this intuitive way of going about it to someone who isn't really like that? Someone who they're wanting the program. They're wanting, say that they're used to that. They're open to this. They're coming to you. They're open to doing it this way, and they want new skills and that they don't have. But they're kind of still stuck in that, I need a program. I need to know what to do, what I do next kind of mentality. How would you go about teaching that?
That's a good question. And I think you brought it up before, but it is a little bit different for everyone, because what I would like to know is like what they're doing now, what they don't like about what they're doing now, what they do like about what they're doing now, how their life is. I mean, some people just, they have they got to be at work for however many hours a day, and you can only fit it in so many ways. And sometimes people, they got to be sitting at a desk. So a lot of it is asking questions about like where are they at now and what they can change, and how you could work with those things. And then to actually get someone to up and like doing something different, it's like man, it would be akin to like a physical interview. So if you had someone, and I say I was working with someone, and we have a kettlebell, and I would just open-endedly ask, like, what's the first, you have your kettlebell, what's the first exercise you go to? And obviously 90% of people are going to go with just the standard kettlebell swing. And then like, I'll just try to nudge them in certain directions to see like, okay, can you swing with one arm between your legs? Can you swing with one arm outside your legs? What's just an odd way of using it that you never thought to use it? Like, you could just stand on a kettlebell and now you're working on your balance. And if you try to squat on a kettlebell, you're working on your balance and you're doing squats. So I think getting people in, having them come up with novel ways of doing it themselves is going to be better than me trying to teach them how to do it. But to kind of guide them in a few sessions at a time how to do that, you start thinking in a different way. And I mean, people are, they kind of run the spectrum of like how creative they're going to be, or how much they do need a set program for following through on these things. But I mean, that to me is part of the program. Like if I'm working out with a group of my friends and I say, all right, well, now you come up with the next thing, and or I'll give them like, here's this, and what are we doing with this? And they know, like, they get the game is like, okay, you can't just do the standard thing with this. You have to do something a little wacky with this. And I think as soon as you open people up to that, they're more creative than you would think otherwise. If you're just giving them, all right, 20 a set of 20 push-ups, and then you do sprint a quarter mile, come back and do 20 push-ups, sprint a quarter mile. Like, you just have to frame it where people, like, the goal is actually to be more creative and do the exercise more creatively than to just get it done. So that's I'm rambling on quite a bit now, but because I'm just playing these scenarios out in my mind. But I think that's how I do work with people on that level. And a lot of people pick up on it, some don't, just because it is what it is, but you're not going to be 100% with everyone. So that's where I would start with people. One is finding out how you could work these things into their life, how they could be more physical throughout the day, and two, make them or at least open up the possibility to try all these things, where it's like the ask is not to do the action, the ask is to come up with the action, and then come up with a novel action. That's the actual exercise there, and then you perform the novel action as opposed to just being told what to do and do it. I mean, there's certain elements of what I do that are just like, you do a lot of reps and you are working out, but there's something extra there, which is a creative path to doing it. So it is it's a little bit more thoughtful than just max out this or lift that, do X number of reps.
Love it. Yeah. So it's like a
This
dialogue.
would be really good if you nail it. You nail it, man.
Yeah, it is more of a dialogue. Like, and I think
drawing
that's
out with
like,
the
it
person.
almost has to be for people. Yeah. It has to be if it's actually going to work. Like, the person, for what I want to help people learn, they're not going to learn it any other way other than doing it themselves. So it's not something that it's something I could help guide people through, but it's not something I can dictate to people. So, that's really going to be more beneficial over the long term too, is like if they could come up with these things themselves and become self-reliant on themselves, make me obsolete pretty much. That's the best case scenario for them, because that's something that they could actually build a healthy lifestyle off of. And I think, Kevin, you kind of said the same thing. I mean, during the couple of sessions I had with you, I remember you saying, like, my goal is to teach you these things so you can do them, so you don't need to come back to me all the time.
Yeah, that's my business model is many people, short period of time, not have them come back every week.
I said it, what I was talking about was similar to what you've told me in the past, is that you...
Oh, yeah, my business model. Yeah, that's what I said to you. My business model is many people for a short time.
That they don't need you.
Yeah, and then I want them to be able to do it, go and apply it to their own thing and go off and do it. I don't want them coming to me for treatment. I don't like, when I first started working in this field, I was the treatment guy. Like, they would come and get the fix and go away and then come back, and it became a kind of pleasure thing. And then obviously the whole business models are based on this, getting people to come back repeatedly forever while thinking it's a solution. How can it be a solution if you have to keep going back to the person? Doesn't make sense. But anyway, so I want people to learn it as quickly as possible and do it themselves. But there's no shortage of people that need it. So I'm not like trying to squeeze every single person, but to learn it for the way I teach it, yeah, they have to. It has to become from inside them. And a lot of the stuff, it's like truly psychophysical. You can't, like I talk about this, using the elastic structures of your back and your torso as springs and stuff. The springs don't just work by themselves. You have to, like, your conscious intentions of the movements of your bony parts around to change the shape of your body are what sets the conditions for the springs to work. And you can't have that done to you. It won't just happen by itself. It's your conscious intentions. It's literally only you can do it for yourself. Maybe our ancestors had it naturally. I'm guessing they did at some point, but it's been a long time since we have, from what I can guess. So this is just the way it is for us. And if the person doesn't want to learn, then they just can't learn it, because if you don't want to learn something, you won't apply your conscious intentions to it. And it's the same as what you're saying. I think that the person needs to want to explore the different movements and ideas, or they won't. If they're wanting to just get it done and move on to the next thing, then they won't get it done. It's kind of like a catch-22.
Right.
I think that's a really smart way for you guys to approach your business, because it's sort of like coming from a sense of abundance. I think that, like, you're actually doing it because you want people to get better for themselves, and you don't want them to need you, and because you have many more people to help.
Like I do have people who are like hardcore people, and this is their thing, and they keep coming back, and they'll and I'm kind of teaching them towards them teaching others too. So like I have that going on. But that's like a small minority. That's not like, those are kind of, I think of them more as, I don't really call it clients, I call it pupils, the people I'm giving lessons to, and then those people who are learning it to teach it themselves later, probably, or in their own way or their own version of it. I think of
Kevin, I'm not really hearing you very well. I guess to bring it back more to like a philosophical point, one of the things that we were going to talk about today, which we kind of have already, was just in this past conversation, is doing the work yourself. So any of the concepts that I think we talk about, even the experimentation in terms of you're experimenting with your posture, or trying to learn about like what's more like a more ancestrally appropriate lifestyle, or me with fitness or anything. I think a lot of what we talk about, we also try to do, and that you have to actually act these things out. And if you're only doing these things through like intellectual enterprise, that you are missing out on a lot of them, and you may not actually get the point of what's working. Like you have to go through, do the work, and see what works. as opposed to just thinking about something. And it even harkens back to what Eric said about the New Year's resolutions. Like, a lot of times people, just the act of thinking about it is enough to quell that the initial drive in your mind, and then you end up not even doing it. So it's one thing to think about it, but then to follow through and actually try the things that you're talking about, that's actually the most important part. And it's the obvious thing that a lot of people miss, or they just think it's too difficult, or they get the psychological comfort of thinking.
Maybe it's not quite the way you're thinking, but so out here there is a what they call a king tide, where the water, and a friend of mine and I had been thinking about going out. Like, we were waiting for this king tide. There are schedules you can follow, and we were going to go and just go foraging for sea urchins, because there's a certain spot where you can do it. And usually they're covered by water, but this king tide is going to drop so much that there's presumably thousands available. And I was I research a lot of things. I mean, it's part of my work. So I was looking up, like, oh, what's the best way to harvest a sea urchin. Once you get it, how do you break the shell? How do you extract the edible portion, and how do you preserve it? All this stuff. And I realized, like, and then at one point I looked at the time, and it was like, man, the king tide is about to start, and I'm fucking sitting here on my phone, like, researching the best ways to take advantage of it. And I realized I just needed to go. And I went out, and I'd never done it before. But the first few I fucked up, and I broke the shell, ruined it. But then I just got out there and started, I filled a whole bucket full of sea urchins. When I got home, I wasn't quite sure how to harvest it, how to actually eat it, and what I should do, how long it would last. But I just started breaking them open, and I ate about 10 of them, and then I just figured out a way to turn it into butter. The stuff I didn't eat, I just processed it with butter and then froze it. But I could see myself, I was on the verge of just I was almost frozen with there's a phrase, decision fatigue. What's the best way to open the shell? What's the best way? What tool should I use to pop it open, to get it off the rock? And just getting in there and I ruined a few of them. I wasn't highly efficient, but in the end, I learned how to do it. And now next time I'll be ready to go. And so that's a very physical example, of what you're talking about.
Yes.
But I easily could have just totally ruined it and not gotten any at all.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest thing? Like, if someone finds themselves in that phase, like the decision fatigue, where you're just trying to research and figure out the best thing, and you're not actually doing it, what's the best thing that, if someone finds themselves in that state, to break out of it and just get started on something?
Go for a walk, physical movement, actually just move through space and time. And, for one thing, moving through, like, actually physical movement will slow down your perception of time. So you'll have more time to do the shit, to think about it and figure out what you're going to do, and I think you look at all the great thinkers and artists and creators of the world throughout history. They've always, they were major walkers. Like, most of them would walk every day for miles, some of them would, take notepads or something. But and it's weird because it never really, it's something you have to force yourself to do because it seems so irrational. Oh, I have this problem right here, and I'm going to go walk away, go walk somewhere else to deal with it, or to find a solution, or to make a decision. But really, walking really always works, because you're outside, you're in the sun. There's stuff like blood flow to your brain is increased. Your blood glucose control goes up, which all plays a role. But so for me, it's just, whether that's walking or it was just getting in the car and driving to the beach. So it's just kind of, you just have to like kind of snap your fingers or stand up and be like, okay, I'm just going to start moving. I mean, there's no easy answer. It's an easy answer, but it can be hard because so many people don't do it.
Well, it's a simple answer, but not easy.
Yes.
It's to do with movement as well, because a lot of people get their best ideas in the shower, or or the treadmill, or whatever. You hear people saying this when they're at the gym or whatever.
Or on the toilet.
Exactly, you're making your movements, and it's something about movement, and it may be also that you sometimes when you're stuck with a problem, it's because you've been physically stuck in one place, so that's why the problem exists. So when you go back, when you walk, it's not that the walking solves it, it's that you're now you've stopped doing the thing that was making you stuck. So like the walking is the normal thing, but we think of it as go for a walk as a to fix it, but actually you're fixing it by stopping being stuck physically and mentally. But yeah, like the walking thing's huge. It's so basic, it's so obvious. It doesn't seem like it would work, but it works for almost everything. I like to really focus learning something really intensely for a while, and then just completely drop it and come back maybe a week later, and then start trying to do something with it a week later, and it kind of gives your brain or whatever time to digest it or make connections or whatever. That you can't really see at the beginning. It's just the same as reading a book a second time. You've now a different person and you've made new connections, and then you come back and read it. Now you've got new understanding. It's the same with learning something, I think. But yeah, at some point you have to just do it and make a balls up. It's just inevitable. You have to you have to wreck a few sea urchins before you have dinner.
You do. It's the old proverb,
Yeah,
we all grew up with that sea urchin, aphorism. I think it spans all cultures, actually. Man, I think moving your body is the most immediate way to do it. But I think just any kind of you need motion. Like you could be you're in the shower. There's just water flying through the air. I think you need the sense of things flying past you through your periphery. Whether that's because you're walking, running, or even a train ride or something. You're just sitting there with the environment, with the countryside rushing past you, or a car ride. I think motion is life, and I think that's where you just have to get motion in your life. Whether it's obviously you have to move your own body, but I think any kind of motion. Sitting at the beach with the waves rolling in, it's alive. It
might also be one of the reasons. It might also be one of the reasons that people like sunset, is because it's moving really fast towards the end. It's noticeable, the movement. So it's like time is now alive in that few minutes or whatever. That it doesn't seem like that during the day. You don't notice it, obviously. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's other things going on at sunset, but it's it's a similar thing at dawn, but it's a different. It stimulates a different kind of thought in the morning, I find, than it does at night. But rain.
I don't know. For instance, I love riding on a rainy day. Where you hear the rain overhead. It's hitting the glass. You can just step outside for a second, take a little break, and kind of just take it all in. I think any kind of when you're confronted with the primacy of the environment in any way, I think that's what we need. I think that, like you said, walking solves everything. And I think nature solves everything too.
And if they think we evolved with all of our problems were in the environment, we even call it the environment as if it's a thing separate, but all the problems were in the environment, whereas now our problems are kind of in this simulated reality that we have, and going back out, it obviously just puts us in the natural habitat or whatever for solving problems. You're now in real problem solving mode, and it makes it easier to solve the simulated problems as well.
Yep.
So all you need is a few trees in the metaverse, and now you're fine.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think the early iterations will work, but maybe they'll get it down. Who knows? I doubt it. I mean, yeah. Well, I guess we'll wait for Ryan to be on for me to talk more about it. But I think there are some good applications of metaversey type stuff that could work. That could enhance, they could enhance your ability to get things done in a real, meaningful way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll save that for when he's on. Yeah, I remember. So I tried I bought this device. It's sort of like a laptop table that you wear over your neck, and it's like a little platform that just sits in front of you. And the idea is that you can just it's like a standing desk for wherever you go. And so that it works okay for that. Like you're just standing somewhere but there's no table, but you don't want to sit and you want to write. But I try to use it on a hike. So there's this really good trail near me that has good cell phone coverage. So I had a Wi-Fi hotspot in my back pocket, which is probably not good for my, my health. But so I had that going, and then I had the portable stand-up desk, and I had the laptop, and I was trying to walk and write, and
California guy thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I still have it, but it just didn't work because like I was really hunched up, and it was really unsteady, and so that didn't work. But I mean, the idea is sound, and I think you could use some sort of AR device to maybe write while you walk. That's one application I would probably use, like a
sound device, you mean?
Floating keyboard. You're wearing some sort of goggle, and there's like a floating keyboard as you like in front of you, that's projected by the glasses.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You could go hike and kind of dictate or write as you go. So that's one thing I could see working pretty well. I don't know exactly, you probably wouldn't have to have your hands up like this. You could probably just kind of touch type wherever your hands are.
Well, so you're like, you're passing someone on the trail and you're like, get the fuck off my space bar.
Yeah. They hit, they hit delete and delete it all. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how it would work, but I don't know. Maybe Ryan has some.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that. It's just too much at the same time. I feel like if I'm going for a hike, I want to go for a hike. If I'm going to sit down and write. But
yeah, I tried like an audio, like voice recordings of notes and stuff instead of notepad and pen, and I just couldn't get it to work. Having all these ideas as you're walking, and then I tried to speak them, and it didn't work because I'm still walking them onto the next thing now. But for some people, it works.
That works well for me. The only problem is the translation is really bad. Like it'll just be all jumbled. So I think if you just get the dictation part down, like if the technology improves, or maybe I'm not enunciating, maybe it's my fault. But so I've actually used that to write rough drafts of things, where I'll be out like hiking or taking the dog for a run, and I'll just be kind of jabbering to myself, and I come back and I send the file I forward this file to myself, and I look at it and I just edit it, and I get something pretty much done in like an hour. So I have I get 2,000 words down, and it looks kind of insane, but there's sort of the meat of good writing in there. So I know it would work for me. Maybe not for everybody, but I think I would definitely buy that.
Yeah, if your process is then to go home and then edit what you have, now you have the meat and then you're sort of carving it. And you're expecting to do that. So you're not worried about it. I think maybe I was trying to put it together crisply while speaking, which was the wrong way to approach it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's worked pretty well. I'm working on something now, and I haven't actually sat down and written. It's I haven't sat down and actually written much, but I just have all these voice notes that I've converted to text, all over the place. And I actually have a decent skeleton of what I'm going to finish with. So I'm pretty happy with it. It seems to work for me. And those are often done, if I'm driving or walking somewhere in the wilderness,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think, well, coming back to I guess the topic we were talking about in terms of actually doing the work and maybe like the barriers to making it from like doing things theoretically to doing them in action would be just to lower all the barriers. I mean, what came to mind, Eric, is you just if you're doing a voice recording, it's just a very low barrier of entry into actually moving something from in your head to on the paper or on the computer, because it's right there, and it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be a big long thing or a whole production. You don't have to sit down and say, "Oh, I'm going to sit down and write for the next hour." It could be an idea that pops into your head, and all of a sudden you capture it, and that's your little. That gives you a little footing. So, that's the idea that came to me, is if you could lower your barrier to entry to actually doing any type of action. It doesn't have to be writing, it could be anything, but that you want to do, as opposed to just thinking about it. What's this is probably something we mentioned before, but what's like the smallest first step you could do on something? It's a very Tim Ferriss type thing. I think I probably heard him say it like a decade ago, but there's truth to it. You do whatever is going to get you an inch closer and not cause you to stagnate. And that kind of gets the ball rolling on taking actions on things. And then over time, those things just, it gets easier to take bigger steps on different things, but you get over that initial like discomfort. Or who's the author? Stephen Pressfield, he calls it the resistance for creative work. In the War of Art. But it's the same idea that I'm sure many people have stated before, but it's kind of true, and it's helpful. Like if you could get over that little initial thing that has you caught up in your mind, and give yourself easy entry points into whatever you want to do, it makes it easier to get that momentum going.
I like
Absolutely.
thinking about it like as creating the next problem, so you're finding the smallest thing to keep the momentum going, is to find something that will make something happen that now you need to react to it. Like it can be like basic as sending a message or an email, and they'll reply, now it's in motion. So at that point in time, just when you're thinking about doing it, if you do something, now you've lost the kind of emotional drive impulse or whatever, but now someone's replying to you about this thing that you suggested, and now it's in motion, and you just kind of go with it. I find that helps, rather than trying to have this big plan and start executing this plan up front, and none of that works. I just like, what's the best problem? What's the best problem I can create for myself that I need to solve, that by solving it will get closer to the thing. So like, I mean, I even used that with you, like when I contacted you guys about starting this, because I've been thinking about podcasts for ages, and it was in the back of my mind, and I was like, still not sure how we do it or how it would work or any of that. And I just thought I'll just message you just now and then it'll happen. That's all I need to do now. If you're interested, it's going to happen. It'll happen. If I plan it, I'll do another year of half thinking about doing a podcast, which is what I did. And never getting around to it. So I'm sure at one point I definitely thought about contacting you two a long time ago and then didn't do it. And then it came back round again. So that's just a wasted year. If I just did it off the top of my head when I thought about it at midnight or whatever time it was, doesn't matter. Next day, reply, dealing with it now. And then things happen. So I've always, not always, but I've learned that that's a better thing for me. And maybe it's personality type or whatever, but I find that I'm more disciplined if some other person is relying on me for something, or it's out there with another person and coming back to me, that I've provoked the situation, but it's not like me having to rely on sitting and having this vision in my head that I'm executing on every day and sticking to it. That just won't happen for me. So I think a lot of people try those systems of discipline and stuff, especially New Year. They're trying things that just are not suited to them, and they should do it more this way. Just what's the little thing you can do that involves someone else, that their reaction will take you a little bit closer to whatever it is you're wanting to do. It's so easy now when you can just message anyone.
I think I do a similar thing. I create the problem by, with the sea urchin thing. I waited so long that I saw the time and realized I was about to miss it. So it was that waiting that created the problem, that I had to react, because it's either now or never. And so it maybe that was destined to be. Maybe that's just how it always had to be. I had to wait until the last moment. And then it was, either I go now or I just miss it. I do that a lot with work. I'll kind of I'll go somewhere to write, and I won't take my power cord because I know that the battery will be dying, and I'll see that thing ticking down, and I'll have to it's now or never. I have to just cram it in the time allotted. So I guess that's my method of, I don't know that it's a good or healthy method, but it works. Definitely works.
Yeah. That was my method in college for writing papers, was wait till the very last minute. Like, I knew I could get a certain number of pages done in a certain amount of time, 3 pages an hour. And I'd pretty much take it down to the wire almost every time, up to the day before. I mean, when the paper's coming, you have a paper due in 4 weeks, but I wouldn't write it till the night before. Write it, research everything. And I got pretty good grades, so it worked out. And I don't really do that so much anymore. I don't really write papers anymore. But in terms of work things, I tend to go more Kevin style, where it's as soon as it pops into my mind, I take care of it, as opposed to waiting to the last minute. Just the nature, or what was the nature of my work, it worked out a lot better if I took care of things up front, as opposed to waiting for a deadline. But I guess I've done it both ways. Okay, what were we even talking about? Maybe my brain fog is kicking in now. The COVID fog.
The syphilis fog.
Yeah, I'm just writing down the time so I know when to edit that word out now. Oh, we're doing things out of order. What are you drinking today, Eric?
I was drinking some Korean red ginseng tonic and onion juice. You get these down at the local Korean market.
Yeah.
And a really disgusting tea I made that I wouldn't recommend. It was actually a Christmas gift I got for my wife. She didn't like it. It was a calming tea blend, with about 9 different herbs, and it it's awful. It tastes really bad. But usually I can choke things down okay. And but I made the mistake of adding salt to this one. Doing that. Still reading that the Mongol stuff. So the salt tea is still in my head, and it was really bad. So I finished it though, and then I'm about to have some tuna.
Good. Tuna's a good drink.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. Refreshing. What about you guys?
Kevin?
I was drinking. Well, I've got water now, but I was drinking cocoa with a little bit of goat's milk and lots of honey, and it's just down to the remnants of the honey in it now.
Nice. You make that cocoa yourself? It's your own blend? Just cocoa powder?
Just cocoa powder, yeah. I used to drink a lot of it, but when I was coming, I was trying to break a caffeine habit a long time ago. At that point, I was drinking like 4, 5, 6 cups of coffee a day. It was too much. And so I went on to cocoa and I was drinking a lot. And I only really started drinking it again recently. Just because I wanted something else to put honey in, actually. It's like the honey is just the gateway drug to all these different things now.
No, everything is a gateway. For you.
Yeah. What about you, Keith?
Have I talked on here about the hot chocolate that I made? I know I shared a picture of it on Twitter, but it's really good. And if I haven't, I'll explain it again. What I take is there's a chocolate from Trader Joe's. It's called like Moctezuma's or something, and it's 100% cacao with cacao nibs. So I take that and I smash it up. So it's all broken apart. I put it in a mug with cinnamon, ashwagandha, and what else do I put in there? That might be, and a little bit of cayenne pepper. And then I put heavy cream on there, and then I boil water and then pour the hot water over it. It melts all the chocolate, and you whisk it all together, and it tastes like hot chocolate. You could add a sweetener too, but it's actually excellent. And it's healthy too. So it's a good way to make a hot chocolate.
Yeah. How's that ashwagandha? How much you
It's
put in
nice. Oh, 2 capsules, whatever that is.
Okay.
So I don't know. I get some like weird brand, or the one I have now is some weird brand from Amazon. And I just break open the capsules and put the powder in there. Yeah, and it's nice. You definitely feel it, or get a I don't know, an effect from the ashwagandha, and probably the other stuff in there too. But it's delicious.
Yeah.
Everyone should try it.
I love that cinnamon cayenne chocolate mix. That's a beautiful combo,
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I got a buddy who sent me something one time with that type of stuff in it. I think it was pretty good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like that.
Anyway, my drink today is just a lemon seltzer. So nothing fancy like gross tea or hot chocolate, hot cocoa for me.
When we're there's this really good brand of this ashwagandha paste that is made locally in Hawaii. We'll have to pick some up when we go. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's like what's the it's an Ayurvedic recipe, I guess, like Indian traditional medicine. It's supposed to enhance the effects. It's really, really tasty. I was surprised. Ashwagandha can have a really earthy flavor, but it works.
It tasted good. I mean, the only stuff I've had, it tastes like dirt, like a root out of the dirt.
Well, it's good. I mean, they throw in some honey. The honey helps. blended with like ghee and coconut oil, turmeric.
Oh, so
You know,
it's a paste. It's not like pure.
no, it's like the top ingredient, but they blend it with a bunch of other stuff.
More palatable.
Hmm.
What else were we talking about? Again, my brain fog is moving in, or I'm just tired. I can't tell.
Well, the thing you were talking about, the difference between like theory and then the action. So like if you're at some point if you're learning something, you have to just do it rather than learning about it or whatever. But I think part of that's maybe like a deeper split people have in them, that is their inner speech is separated from their actions. So like it's like deeper than just learn. It's not like a habit of just learning and not doing. It's more that words, I'm assuming originally were instrumental. So like the words were for doing things. You were tools. Words were tools to do things, and then we kind of, and however recently, words became ends in themselves, and we just like words about words about words, and you don't need to do anything with them. So we're kind of lost in the theory and not the practice of things. And part of the task for people is to bring their speech about things, their internal dialogue or what they say out loud. Again, this is similar to, it brings about to New Year's resolutions, and connecting that with the actions that they want to do. Because if you spend your whole life just talking in your head and it doesn't really mean anything and it doesn't translate into actions, or even stories, you're just it's just random stuff and neurotic stuff a lot of the time. You're training yourself to think that theory and action are separate. The studying of the thing or the saying you're going to do the resolution is the thing, because it's no longer connected to the actual thing. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, it's as if a person lives in a it's as if like the person lives in a constant level of abstraction separate from reality. Or that, I mean, not that it's separate from reality, but it's just a level of abstraction right outside reality all the time, and they never is harsh, but they never make that crossover into doing actual things.
Yeah, they don't close the loop, because you really should be, there's the things you're doing, and then you use speech, whether with people or in your own head, to organize what it is you're doing or plan what you're doing or figure things out. And then you go back to doing the thing. Whereas we're just kind of lost in that middle. It's kind of the speech and the thinking about it and studying that should be the middle phase. But it's became the main phase for a lot of people, where you're just learning one thing, then another thing, and you get these guys that are just reading hundreds of books a week. It's like, it's not, there's something fragmented or unintegrated, as we disintegrated, that we always talk about. And it just seems like that's like such a deep thing in people that it's not surprising that they don't actually start doing when they want to learn something. It's not a surprise they don't actually just start doing the thing first, rather than going into all this endless analysis and research, which are necessary, but they're not the end in itself. I mean, right. I've been guilty of this loads of times. I mean, I'm not judging other people. This is something I've had to notice and figure out and struggle through for myself, as well as seeing it for other people.
Yeah, there's a word that Nassim Taleb used in, I think it was Anti-Fragile. It was tinkering. Like there's tinkerers, and like that's what you should be doing to explore or try out ideas, is just tinkering around and figuring out what works, what fits in what places and all that. And if you live in that abstract, research heavy or book heavy world, you never actually tinker around with things or get that deep into them or figure out what problems you have. They're all just manufactured problems in your head as opposed to real problems that reality shows you.
Yeah, you can't really tinker because if the words are in the book, it's already fixed. It's like the solutions are there. You're not like the living is between the words or between the books. It's not like a mixture of all the things you've read. Then you're doing the thing, and there's an interaction between what you've learned about it. But there's no sort of messiness if you're just going by the book or you're trying to apply. It's just backwards. It's the only way to describe it. It's upside down.
Yeah. Speaking of tinkering around with things, how's your project on using your opposite hand for the mouse?
Still doing it right now. So here's the.
Is it working out well?
Yeah, it's got more. I still find myself with weird habits with it. I still find myself sometimes I raise my hand, so like I haven't. It's like really taken a long time to wire it together, you could say. But I'll still find like I'm maybe kind of pulling my hand, raising the sort of thumb side up when I'm using it and stuff. It's weird. But I've stuck at it, and it's.
You notice any crossover elsewhere?
No, but I can definitely say I've been a lot more productive the last 2 weeks than I have been in a long time. But that could be other factors. I don't know if this is related to it or not. But there's like built into the muscle memory or whatever, or your neurons, there's lots of times my right hand and my brain are wired together with the motion of clicking on some distracting website or doing some wasting time on something, that this little click there's so many little associations, even from just like a hypnotic point of view of repeating the same thing, classical conditioning or whatever. There's operant conditioning, whichever, doesn't matter. That's a lot of that stuff's been broken. So definitely doing less destructive things. It's really peculiar. Didn't expect that at all. I was really just doing it so I had more space on my desk. It was totally practical. But again, that's like an interesting thing is you do something practical. It seems purely physical placement of things, and then it sets a whole train of understanding. There's a whole sort of mental aspect that you didn't even realize. And then the next minute you're talking about it on a podcast. And really it was just simply about having somewhere to put my drink without knocking it onto the computer. That was it.
Funny how that works.
Mm-hmm. Guys, I hate to run, but I gotta go right now.
Cool. Well, we'll call it a day here because it's late. It's late for me anyway. So because we're later tonight anyway. So we'll stop here.
All right.
So
I appreciate you guys giving me the bandwidth to kind of talk out some of the things I've been thinking about.
Well, we'll call you're welcome. We'll call the episode something to do with your thing, Keith, because I think it's useful for people listening to this to know what you're doing and what you're planning, because
me
type of
too.
People who are right for you and that you're right for them are going to be listening to this, obviously. Well, some of them, and it makes sense because people are looking for solutions for these things all the time. And the problem is, like, guys like us aren't forcing it down people's throats because we're not like marketing types. We're not marketer types. We're not, sales guys. So
right.
We're not reaching as many people as we could be. And I think we have a better thing for a certain type of person for definite. It's just without question. So let's talk about it more. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Glad you've Keith. Just finish that antibiotics course, and you should be good. All right.
Appreciate it, Dr. Eric. Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope you get over your redacted.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, guys. Have a good one. Take care.
All right, good chat. We'll see you.
Good to speak to you.